Booyah.
And we're back.
Oh boy, we just couldn't get enough of Miley Cyrus, could we?
Nope.
Not at all.
No. I listened to the last 6 songs, the encore, if you will, for the last probably 2 hours.
Really? Today. On this rainy Saturday.
Yep.
On this wainy Saturday.
Little Wayne.
So what this is, there's a little Wayne. There's a lot of Wayne going on lately, but a little Wayne today. So what Zach and I decided to do for this is a first of probably a handful maybe that we might do over the course of till we're dead. That's how I weigh things out nowadays.
Yeah.
Till I'm dead. We're doing a sort of encore to Miley Cyrus's Attention, or no, it's just Attention.
Yes.
Which is covering the last 6 songs on it that kind of come up after Party in the USA. So we were calling this our encore because we just couldn't get enough the first time.
And dually, we may have put you through enough in the last 2 and 3/4 of an hour episode.
That's a good point. That was a solid almost 3 hours of babbling about Miley Cyrus, and here we are. We're back.
Well, that's a good thing, right? This isn't our go-to. This isn't our, something we would pick out of a album lineup and go, yeah, no, let's listen to this.
That's very true.
And the fact that we had talked about it already for almost 3 hours is, I think, a good sign.
I think a lot of them that aren't shit we listen to regularly will actually end up being longer than Avenged Sevenfold or Ice Nine Kills or whatever we do listen to, or Bring Me the Horizon or any of them, because you're right, because we have so much to talk about, because it's not really the most ideal thing we would pick and play. I kind of talk about that a bit in my notes, actually, about an overall thought. But so this is focusing on the last 6 songs. We'll call it her encore
Yes.
of an encore of an episode.
They were actually recorded at a different show.
I want to add to that too. You're right. And then I looked up on Wikipedia to kind of figure out, just to double check. I'm like, was it the Super Bowl pre-party? I was thinking, yes, actually, half the album was recorded at that. Apparently,
that's what I thought. I wasn't entirely sure if it was these 6 or if there was more than that. Yeah,
I didn't realize that until today when I was looking at it. That half, I don't know what half, and I don't know what tracks. I didn't look that deeply into it. Maybe that's a later date situation, just for our own fun. As if we haven't had enough fun with Miley. I think she'd agree to that.
No comment.
But yeah, apparently half the album was recorded at the Super Bowl pre-show. So that makes me wonder, I'm just assuming the second half, including these songs, because at the end was the song The Climb, when she's like, stick around for Green Day. Oh no, it was the end of Party in the USA.
Party in the USA, yeah.
Green Day ain't going to leave stage in their fucking underwear. I'm assuming Green Day played at the Super Bowl party too, because the Super Bowl was in LA, and both of them are from LA.
Yes.
So I have a feeling it was the second ever Super Bowl where the team, one of the teams playing in it, it's their home stadium they're playing at.
Okay.
So
yeah.
I think that was the hullabaloo, and having artists literally from Oakland and LA and whatever, that general area doing it. So yes, this one I'm still hung up on saying that these 6, like you're saying, no, these were definitely at the Super Bowl party, because I'm just assuming, it's just picturing in my head.
Right.
So yeah, let's start it off. Give me some ideas of what you thought, and I'll pipe in when I need
what
to.
I thought?
Yeah.
All right. So I had a
boatload.
I'm grabbing the mouse while I'm trying to adjust the iPad.
Last week we talked about
technology.
Last episode we talked about how I have an iPad, and I feel like my dad while I'm using it. It doesn't zoom in.
It doesn't zoom in. Why did you buy this?
I didn't buy it. I got it with my phone. It's a slightly used one.
All right.
Uh-oh.
I need to see it a little bit better. Man, okay. That's a thing, I guess.
We could up the font in our note sheet in the future to 20-point font if you want.
No, there's got to be a view.
I'm sure.
Yes, right there.
Oh, yeah,
right
it's a
there.
Google Drive thing. There you go. It's not
It's not
an iPad thing.
Bam, got it.
Bangers. I don't know how to do this. There we go.
You don't know how to do what you just did.
Yep. I just
Bam.
tapped
Now
it.
we're here.
I just tapped it and it went off.
Yeah. Hate it when that happens.
Whoa.
So the first track was "What the Fuck Do I Know."
Yes.
It was the encore and the song choice. I think to end the live album was a great choice. It was a good change of pace for the entire set. You know, it went through an entire catalog of everything that Miley's done over the course of 10 years now, right?
That's true.
And I feel that the ending of the album minus the encore went exactly the way it probably should have.
Yeah, you mean minus these 6 songs? Is that?
Well, I'm not saying that these 6 songs are a great way to end the album.
Yeah,
but like the flow of the entire thing is a piece of work.
Oh yeah,
Or
I see what you mean. Yeah,
work really well together, and I liked the change of pace with "What the Fuck Do I Know."
Yeah, that's true.
I was listening to it earlier and looking at the notes and reviewing the notes since I had some previously on the last episode, and noticed that I thought she was saying, "I thought I'd be human until I die."
Huh.
Yeah, but if you listen to it, it says, "I thought it would be you until I die."
Oh yeah.
Right?
Okay. Yep. I just remember the chorus from this one big time. What the fuck do I know?
Yeah.
I
thought the lyrics were great on this track, and I labeled this one as like one I would cover.
Oh sure, I with think, a band.
Yeah, and I think this song, along with a few other ones, in terms of like the change of pace, are very punk.
Yeah, this one and the last one I kind of note. And we're gonna pardon my swooping. This largeness of font will help mine as well, but I just want to make sure I keep up with you as well, and vice versa. But
maybe we should do it by track list next time.
Yeah, we can. This is always an evolution.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm with you to kind of sum up I know we talked about the end of it, the whole album, the Up to Party in the USA part, because I do label the last 6 songs like an unofficial encore of the album, I would say.
Right.
Just because you notably hear it fade out and then fade back to this. Even though there are like fade outs at the end of, I think, like every other song or something like that on this. So that leads me to believe maybe not all at the Super Bowl party, but I don't care. I'm going to tell her that it was. But the extra tracks at the end,
definitely gaslight Miley Cyrus.
Gatekeeper. Definitely different. It seems like a different performance in general is what I mean. Like, because of the different selection of songs. I know I said seems like an encore that really isn't an encore, but I like the album encore, like I was saying. But you're right, pop punk influences in some of these definitely, for sure. What the fuck do I know? This is the first one we're talking about on that list. It's a pretty solid push. I know you said punk. I thought it was a pretty solid push in just general rock to start off with, for sure, because like it's just got a lot more drive and like power behind it, you know, that sort of thing. It's really contrary to the, like, I guess we call it the original. I wrote the original live album prior to these last 6 songs because that was so dynamic. Like, but there was kind of a cover of classic rock tones, blues, hip hop, with that song 23 or whatever it was, and like 4x4 and some of those like podunk country kind of tunes.
That was your favorite song, wasn't it?
Yeah, 4x4 and away we go. Yeah. I offended everyone with that one, if you remember from the last episode.
For those that are taking notes and or sticking with us.
Yeah, exactly. Which is probably about 7 people now. I think we decided.
I think so.
An invisible 7. Or an imaginary 7.
Imaginary 7.
But what I mean by it's contrary is like, I don't think I heard like a rock or punk song in the first batch.
I don't think so.
Like, because, and again, mind you, we don't really listen to Miley Cyrus a lot, but yeah, I don't think I heard, a rock or punk version that kind of popped up during that. All of a sudden, this last 6 has a couple. And I'm like, I think that was kind of refreshing, like you said too, because it's like, okay, you know, I heard a lot of different genres in her stuff through that album. It was a good showcase and art piece, if you will. But then all of a sudden it's like, now I hear this, I'm like, okay, she didn't forget that she can also do rock, you know, and like actually intense vocals, which kind of later on with one of the other heavier songs. But yeah, this one kicked it off with just a kick to the gut. Like, okay, look, I do rock and like faster paced rock, if you will, also, which I liked about that one. I could see why you'd want to cover it, I guess.
Yeah.
And I found that, I don't know about you. I don't know how I'll let you kind of define why you think it sounds punk or rock, but for me, the biggest thing in this song was the verses. She went really low in her vocals and very
Yeah.
aggressive.
She did. I think it was that, along with probably the vocal content, or not the vocal content, the lyric content.
Oh,
Is
yeah.
what I'm going for there.
Like, I thought I would be human until I died.
Yeah, maybe that was part of it.
It should have been, because she's so strange these
I
days.
know, and
And I like that. I like the strange. We decided she's a natural rebel,
Yes.
not a red carpet rebel, if you will.
she is, and actually, that's what I go into. But before we jump to the next song, the solo in this song was amazing.
Guitar solo,
The
right?
guitar solo, I thought it was great,
Yeah.
and that's probably also what led me in the direction of like punk or pop punk.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Are there a lot? I mean, I know punk is probably maybe your forte more than mine, but are there a lot of guitar solos in punk rock?
Not a whole
songs?
lot.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Like, I think I am not a gatekeeper, nor am I.
We all are at heart.
Right. Nor would I be considered your traditional punk. Right?
Sure.
So
sure.
like the songs that I really like are songs like with solos.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Songs that really rip and kick it
Yeah.
off, right?
That kind of got more dynamics than, like, I guess that's the thing. Like, I think maybe I align more with you with how your flavor of punk is, like you're saying, because of solos, because of dynamics. I don't think like the classic punk, like you were saying, has any dynamic that draws me in personally. Like, maybe, I don't know. That's just me though. You know what I mean?
I'd have to listen back to actually be able to answer that question a
Sure.
little bit more accurately, right? Because so thinking back to like the Ramones, I don't know
Yes.
that they had any solos in their songs. I think it was just your 5-chord progression or like 3-chord progression through the
Oh, sure.
song, and like bands like the Ramones and the Dead Kennedys and things of that nature.
Sure.
As far as I can remember, I haven't gone all the way through their catalog again because I'm a different animal, but no solos, right?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. I think you're right on that. I really think that that's the differentiating thing for me is that like traditional punk, I guess we'll just label it as written. And I have friends a couple that I know listen to this and they're very big into the traditional punk that will probably punch me in the throat when they see me next. But yeah, I agree.
Sweet.
I think it's everybody needs a good throat punch every now and again.
You need to get checked sometimes.
Yeah. But I agree. I think it has a lot to do with that. I like dynamics. I like guitar solos. I like in this case, I like that you noted the xylophone and or sample of a xylophone in this
Yep.
What the Fuck Do I Know song. But yeah, I like those things. You know, I can respect the culture and the like utility, if you will, and whatnot of like traditional punk, or just as much as I respect black metal or death metal or, you know, like the nonstop screaming, nonstop blast beats, you know, that
Yeah.
sort of thing. There's nothing wrong with
Children
it.
of Bodom.
Yes, or Cannibal Corpse is kind of what I think of.
Oh,
you know, what I
right,
mean?
right.
Like if I were thinking of blast beats, but like punk's got its place in that world too. Just it doesn't, gatekeeping aside, it doesn't matter that whether I like it or not. It's like I can respect the culture and the reality of what it is, and I guess even utility of it. But I love this song too because of those reasons, and I think it does fall rock, I guess pop punk, pop punk if you will. But yeah, definitely a jam. Definitely a bop.
Loved it.
Yeah.
And yes, the xylophone and or the sample of the xylophone I thought was a good touch on this. Going back into these songs, actually, it's funny because I mentioned the xylophone or the sample and note that and how in depth we go with some of this stuff. I actually noticed with the next song at 137, you can actually hear Miley Cyrus drop out and say, "Hang on, people," and like she drops out of the song.
Really?
In Mother's Daughter.
Okay.
And Boys Don't Cry. I've never seen video of it, so I don't really know what's going on.
Yeah.
But I had to go back. I heard that while I was, fucking around and finding out at home. And I went back to it. I thought, what was that? And you can clearly, like, along with the lyrics, it's very similar to what they're singing in that portion of it. But she actually said, you can hear her say, "Hang on, people."
Do you think she was saying that to the band or the people, like the crowd?
I think the people.
Okay.
I think she may have left the stage and or came back.
Gotcha. To
Or
like give them a solo or
to
something?
no, because all you hear at the time are background singers.
Oh, yeah,
Right?
yeah.
The background singers in the band carry it, but then you can clearly hear when she comes back. and it was before the transition to the song "Boys Don't Cry." So I don't know if this was like a cue to go get the other vocalist, the guest vocalist.
That might be true.
Right.
Now it's coming back to me. I won't go into it right this second because I want to hear what you think about that song. But that song was the only one out of these 6 that I found weird. Not really so much just because of the mashup factor. I thought she did great mashup or transition, if you wills, on the first batch of songs for the like full length album, if you will.
Yeah.
But this one was strange to me for a few reasons. But I'll let you kind of start us off with this song because this one was weird to me, and also the only one that kept escaping my mind about how it went. I had to listen to it a few times to remember how it goes, how it sounds, like.
Well, it's funny you say that because I'm kind of right there now because other than listening to it going, yeah, I like the song and my few notes that I've got on it, I don't have a whole lot on it.
Yeah, I don't know why. Like the mother's daughter part is what I can't remember always, but I can remember the
part
beat.
I liked. Boys Don't Cry was a great song and / cover, and I think they did a really great job with that, especially with the guest vocalist.
Did you find out if that was a cover or not? Boys Don't Cry?
I believe it is.
Okay, because I couldn't even on Wikipedia.
I looked at the other notes that I had before deleting them.
Gotcha.
To see if I could decipher whether or not it was, and I think it may have been, but don't quote me on that.
Gotcha.
But Mother's Daughter, that was a great song too. Kind of like the idea behind it was, I'm a little bit different and or fucked up, or maybe I'm just my mother's daughter, which I think is pretty fucking cool.
And I remember the lyric that kept reminding me of what the song sounded like. Like I said, on the topic of it being kind of, I don't want to say not memorable. That's always a bad way to say things.
No.
But it was like, hallelujah, hallelujah. How you like my ad-libbing?
Great. You're doing wonderful. Keep going.
That lyric was like the verses, or it was in the first couple verses, and that's what kept reminding me, okay, that was that song. I liked the drum beat in it.
Yep.
Boys Don't Cry, I thought that one is more memorable to me, or I remember it better. It's not memorable, I remember it better. But
right,
yeah, I too I'm trying to think here. The lyrics, I agree with you on the lyrics, but I'm trying to think of what I wrote maybe a couple things on it, but it was all kind of pertaining to like it being a weird mashup. And I don't know how you felt about that. I felt like it makes sense now that you said she was like, hang on, people. And she kind of let the backup singers come. It seemed like a really distinct like change in the song to Boys Don't Cry. Whereas compared to, this is why it was weird to me, compared to all the other mashups that she did on this album.
Flew
right into it. Yeah. Like, was it Wrecking Ball into Nothing Compares to You? Very similar beat, but didn't have to stop, didn't change much.
You know what? I think that, now that we're kind of coming to the end of this album and what our thoughts are on it and our opinions, I don't know that I've ever seen, and also I haven't seen every live album in existence, but I don't know that anybody else does anything like this with their originals. And like the closest thing I can think of that compares to the way she did those covers was the live Raw album.
Oh, really?
Where at the end,
I like that one.
It was a good album. And I can't remember which song it was that they ended with.
Sure.
It was either the last song or the second last song towards the end.
It was the live album by Raw. I'll look it up while you talk.
And they cover Ludacris.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm really looking this up right now.
You didn't catch that?
I haven't listened to it in a minute because we were listening to this so much.
Yeah. And so like they go from the end of that their original song into Ludacris, and if I remember correctly, it's been a minute since I listened to it also. They go back into their song, I think, to end it.
I'm trying to find Raw. It's hard to actually look them up on Spotify because
there is another. I think there's another group and or artist with the same name, or at least for a minute when I was trying to look them up, it had other very obscure things tagged along with it, as if the streaming service could not sort out what's what.
Sure. Let me look up the song's Fallen Angels. I'm going to turn my phone way down so I don't let everyone know how much I like this song.
Well,
So I got to pick that just to get to their page.
oh, just to get to their page. Sure.
Yeah. Which is fine because, like I said,
So,
there we
but
go.
basically,
Got it.
what I was getting at is I don't know that I've seen other artists do anything like this with their covers, where they do their original and then transfer into a cover and or back into their own.
Sure. So their last couple songs
On the live album?
On that live album are Don't Turn Away or Scorn, Don't Turn Away. What you mean is they break into a ludicrous jam during one of those? They just don't really tag it in the name?
They don't tag it in the name, but
Okay.
it is very clearly ludicrous.
I'm gonna re-listen to that. Maybe that'll be
it's so good.
Up and coming live one we'll talk about. But yeah, you're right. Like if you're referring to not only doing this regularly through the live album and also giving credit where credit is due, if you will. Yeah, you're right. She definitely did this. She like went overboard with it.
Right.
Not in a bad way. Just she went to town.
No, I think it's very notable too, because in a certain case, she has a decent amount of covers on this album.
Yeah.
And to a certain point, I think to compare the two, giving the examples that we have in front of us, with the Raw album, it was almost strictly all of their material. And aside from that little
deviation,
2-minute deviation into ludicrous, maybe they didn't have to tag him and or put credits on it because they didn't do the whole song. I don't know. So
to compound on this, arguably, you're right. The first part of her album, the bulky part of it, was a lot of covers and her originals.
Yes.
And some of them, like 3 or 4 of them, mashups. This one I just noticed in my notes on Wikipedia, I was noticing it didn't necessarily explicitly say it was a cover, but the girl singing with her on it is Anita. Like
yes.
How do you spell it? Anitta.
Yep.
And she does have a song called Boys Don't Cry. So I'm guessing you're right in that it's a cover of
her
this
song.
Probably relatively new artist that I don't know.
Yes. When I found out who it was that sang with her on it and did a little bit of background, she looks relatively new.
Yeah. Let's see her discography. 2013. That was her first album. Yeah, that's new. I mean, that's still new in my book, even though it's 11 years ago.
What's weird about that statement is that, like, you're also calling Miley Cyrus new.
That's kind of true, and maybe I'm just getting old and trying to pretend that time isn't passing that fast.
Time is not linear,
or I'm forgetting that time passes that fast. But you're right. You're right. Like, that is still a cover. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, obviously. What do you consider? That's a good question. Like, just a sidebar. What do you consider new nowadays? Like, what range?
New?
What range? Like an artist, let's say. What year from like the time of this recording is mid 2024 roughly?
Well, I feel like I've got,
because I don't know what I would consider. I'm totally.
It's all
dumb,
based on perception. I think. I think I'm a bad example for that, because I would consider. So to say something is new, right? Because you know me, and I generally try to keep up with stuff that is coming out right now. I visit the
probably better than people our age,
right?
I would say.
So I visit the new release section every week just to see what's out there, and what'll get me amped up to fuck around and find out.
Right.
So in terms of being brand new and or new, I would say. And I still think I'm a really bad example of that, because some of the artists that I listen to religiously and have for probably the last going on, we'll say 10 years now, could be considered new because of, and this actually was a thought I had while we were just discussing Miley and Anita.
Yeah.
But my view's a little bit skewed because I keep up with those bands, and I enjoy the music they're coming out with. So to me, it's all I would consider older material. But for people who are just discovering certain artists and certain things, it's new to them, right?
Yeah, right. And that plays a lot into live albums. Like I think we talked about, maybe pilot episode was I like classic rock bands, right? Like,
Yes.
that's always the debate now too. What do you define as classic rock? Because I see memes like, oh my God, I just saw the Backstreet Boys on the classic rock
Or
channel.
Blink-182 and Green
Blink
Day.
182 is the big one right
Yeah.
now, I think it was. And I agree. I'm kind of like, well, I mean, where does that cut off start? Is it like 30 years? Like, it's like we try to standardize so many things.
I can't look it up on my phone. There's a meme that breaks it down that if
Oh,
there was a song written like Bowling for Soup's 1985.
Yes.
Have you seen this one?
Yeah, but go ahead.
Yeah. I don't remember what year it was, but it would be like
2004.
2004.
Yep.
Right.
If Bowling for Soup wrote, that's what it was. If the
time frame was,
I think it was last year that meme came out, because it was if they wrote the song 1985 in 2004.
yes,
And I think it was last year. It was if they wrote a song of equal distance last year from when they wrote 1985 in 2004, it would be about 2004, which would put me at sophomore in high school age. And I'm like, holy shit.
graduated that year.
Oh no, here was my favorite part of that meme. I just thought of it. I could almost recite it now. It just all came back to me. So it said, Bowling for Soup wrote the song, and obviously give or take to the artist that made the meme.
Oh, they did. They didn't actually write it.
Well, oh yeah,
but anyway, go on.
But to whoever this came out as, whoever made this meme, to their credit, this is going to vary a bit, but it said Bowling for Soup wrote a song about 1985, right? It was 1985.
It was 1985.
Yep. In 2004. If they were to write a song about
year I was born.
If they were to write great. if they were to write a song about this today, being 2023, which was last year at the time of this recording, they would be writing about 2004, and now I'm going to be sick.
Yes.
What the meme
that's what the meme said. I remember correctly.
It fucking killed me. Like the run-on sentence thought of that.
It was just a run-on.
Went right into, and now I'm going to be sick. I'm like, that's fucking true and terrible. True and terrible.
So yeah, it really depends. Do you consider what do you consider new for an artist? Because I would, one of my favorite bands released an album going on 2 or 3 years ago now, and everything, and depending on the way you see, I guess the way you perceive things, I could consider everything off of that album new, although I've been spinning it for years.
Right. And here's something funny. In my early 20s, or when I met you and I was playing with a few different bands and auditioning for Blue Man Group and all that stuff.
Good times.
I was a lot more, I don't think this is a time to call it gatekeepery, but I mean, in a way it is. But I used to think of when I would do like drum video covers, I was always like, okay, that is like no holds barred to me. That's like, oh, I can cover whatever and do whatever.
Yeah.
But if it was like, okay, I'm in a band and we want to do a cover, for a long time, I was very much so like, oh, like newer bands, as in within a range of 5 years, let's say, of like coming out up to like a 5-year-old band, maybe.
Sure.
It's like if they're going to do a cover, it should be a classic rock, or it's probably got to be an old cover. Like when I would think just like movie remakes, I was like, this needs to be remade after years and years to like reintroduce it to a new crowd or a new age generation, new generation. That's what always kind of signified to me is if a band is going to cover a song, it's like, I know this is a terrible example because I don't really like this one anymore at all, but Disturbed covering Simon and Garfunkel. You know what I mean? Where it's like, okay, Disturbed came out in the 2000s.
Yes.
Simon and Garfunkel wrote the Sound of Silence in like 1969, 70. So, I mean, we're talking like decades had gone by, right? So for a while, it wasn't like I was perturbed if somebody did a cover that's current, because now I have a massive playlist of Pop Goes Punk cover. I love all that stuff where it's like songs that came out not even 4 years ago, and a punk band or a like Falling in Reverse or somebody like that covered it, or Beartooth or whoever, right?
Well, what's really funny about the context of this conversation is if you think about it, right? Because we're talking like bands who are new and up and coming covering stuff that's a little bit older.
Yeah.
Right. Growing up, my favorite band of like all time, like this band doesn't even like make lists. Like if I had to put things in order, they're like they are the Hierarchy.
Yeah.
But they covered songs from their time, like from that time that they were up and coming by other bands.
Right.
Really actually helped them gain traction.
Yeah. Yeah. Like not that I will actually go on a limb and say I don't think Miley Cyrus needed to cover anything to gain traction.
Oh, no,
what
no,
I think it
definitely
did was earned her respect across genres, because kind of what I'm getting at with this question and this sidebar that's actually kind of pertinent in a way,
Yeah.
is that also on the topic of gatekeeping, I think we all, even in the best of intentions, try to categorize music and try to put it in genres and put it in this and put it in boxes. And I think what's happening now that it's a very personalized service
Yes.
is music. It with
Still
Spotify
an art
streaming. So
form.
yeah, but it's become more personalized and commercialized simultaneously.
Right.
Is that now we have our own unique ways to kind of gatekeep and put it into these categories and put it into these boxes and keep the square pegs in the square holes and all that stuff.
All I think about when you say that is that meme or that video. The square goes in the square hole.
And it keeps going in
the rectangle goes in the square hole. I think we referenced that the last video. It's just ironic as all fucking get out.
It's still important. But I think that's why I think of that too. And it's because we all like order as like a culture and as a human race, I would say too. Like we like order. And that's why we do this. We do this with sports. We do this with, like if we like, we're we record this in Wisconsin. We like the Packers. We align with where we're from in that world. We align with things we like and aesthetic things. Even it's like,
I think it goes a step further now because of access now. And we are going down quite the rabbit hole.
No, this still matters because we're talking covers and this is a cover. You're right. Like just to remind everybody, Boys Don't Cry was a cover of a song that isn't that old, but it's,
correct.
Cover still.
And we're, talking about time frame / perspective.
Yeah.
Also, I'd like to throw in there, say The Experience, because one of my favorite bands,
Mhm.
right? Yeah. You've got The Experience and then you've also got the access. I made a comment in the past that I had made mention to you that with everything that I've spent on a certain band over the last probably 10 years, I could probably solidly say I funded probably 1 to 2 songs on the last album.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
And while, so like the access and the ability to support that along with knowing that you're helping fund like whatever it is that they're doing and putting out also adds to the experience.
Sure. Yeah, exactly. And so I think that you're right. Like it's become a personalized thing that we're involved in when we listen to music or patronize a concert, buy merch, anything like that. And I think that now we just inadvertently have started to categorize things in certain ways personally rather than universally. And I think that because we have so many generations out and about too nowadays, that Miley Cyrus probably did these covers because she likes them. But I think inadvertently it gave her some street cred because she's, a daughter of a country singer who was kind of campy when he came. You know what I mean? Like, I don't also want to judge. I don't follow Billy Ray Cyrus,
right.
But it's like, I think she kind of like she's expected to be a country singer. She was a teeny bopper star. You know what I mean? And it's like,
yes.
So somebody that was 20s, 30s, whatever, when Billy Ray was coming out, it's like they're gonna look at her like, yeah, whatever, but she'll never be her dad. It's kind of to go back to like even like racing. It's like Dale Jr. is never gonna be Dale Earnhardt, or Peyton Manning's kids are never gonna be Peyton Manning. Like that's the kind of direction I'm getting at with it.
But there's also a stigmatism attached to that. Like they're never gonna. It's like, yeah,
you mean
great.
A stigma?
Stigmatism.
Yeah, you can just get that fixed with LASIK, dude. I'm living proof.
That is very true. Fucking stigmatism.
That's all right.
There's a stigma attached to that though, also because the person saying things like, "Oh, they'll never be in good," but the reality of that is the person making the statement thinks the former won't amount to anything to a certain degree.
Like Miley, they have in their head Miley Cyrus will not amount to the amazingness that Billy Ray Cyrus.
Correct. When in reality, the opposite of that is she probably doesn't want to be.
Yeah. And I think that that's what I mean too, is like generations are changing as, even the generations younger than us are different than we are, as we are different than Gen X, as Gen X is different than baby boomers, as vice all along the way. But I think that like I totally agree. And I think that like the baby boomer generation experienced pop culture when I talked a little bit about this in the last one. And in lieu of these covers, they experienced pop culture evolve like we're experiencing technology evolve.
Yes.
Where it's like,
Yep.
it went from Elvis and the Beatles to like, holy shit, the 70s had everything. The 60s even had everything. 80s got even more like glam rock, whatever. Like they saw it evolve like crazy. So you know what'll be similar to us is like when my nephew is about 20, how technology is then. I'm going to be like, yeah, but you guys didn't experience the social media boom and, you know, like streaming service boom and all this stuff. Like we lived it, blah, blah, blah. And they'll have like something of their own. That's like pop culture, like movies and mainly like in this case, music for the older generations now and our generation and younger, you know, because, and I think Miley was doing these covers because she likes them. But like I said, I think it actually breaks down some of those barriers nowadays because it showed in her own natural rebel way, like, she is able to sing covers in whatever case, you know what I mean? And to kind of tie that in, you know, with talking about how we kind of gatekeep or like categorize like a cover by a band like Miley Cyrus's age or a singer Miley Cyrus needs to be a classic rock one all the time. It's like, I've been proven wrong, and I've actually gotten excited about that proving wrong with Pop Goes Punk. And now in this case of this song, Boys Don't Cry is no, they can cover whatever, you know, like you could be Green Day covering Blink-182. It doesn't matter. You know, you could be Metallica covering Rat or whatever, you know, like whatever. It doesn't matter.
Right.
Like it doesn't have to be so outside of your genre.
It's really
you know
fun.
I mean?
Man, this is so
but
wild.
Miley was so outside of her genre with some of these, you
with
know,
some of them. It's like this conversation is just so wild to me right now because through everything that we're talking about just kind of keeps spawning other thoughts. You know that Escape the Fate is touring right now with what they call the emo orchestra.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah, and they're covering they're covering a bunch of emo and other bands and things of that nature.
Yep.
Granted, within the realm of their genre.
I see that on Insta a bit for some reason.
Yeah, so do I. But and probably because I follow them.
Yeah, probably because we're from the emo generation.
Are we?
Speaking of boxes and yeah, definitely 2004,
that was not a legitimate
2005,
question.
6, yeah.
But you know, to go along the lines of being able to cover music, it doesn't matter.
Sure. Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of what I feel with this. Like now figuring that it's a cover, I was like instantly, I still felt the like, yeah, but like maybe it was just a guest singer and she just sang with her. It's like, no, I mean, she can cover anything. And I think that's important because it shows those dynamics in Miley's case, especially through the first album portion we talked about last episode. But yeah, I like this song to kind of bring it all the way back to tie a bow around it for you to transition on. This song kind of, I saw you said who joined her on stage, Paramore or Kesha.
Yeah.
She does kind of sound like that.
A little bit.
It's Anita. But yeah, this song just didn't stick with me too much as the other ones.
Correct.
And maybe it was because she was kind of crossing genres and hitting my emotions with the rock ones and the punk ones, you know, where I'm like, oh, that just soaked me in so much that I didn't hear much value in this one, or you know what I mean? Like it didn't stand out as much.
Yes.
That sort of thing. But yeah, not bad. Not bad for the song we didn't really know much about.
Right.
A 30-minute conversation about the song. We're like, I don't know much about this, but let me tell you about the war.
So the next one is You Take Two, right?
Yes. Yeah.
I really enjoy the fact that she circled back around to do this song again and put it on the album.
Oh, sure.
I shouldn't say it was unnecessary. I think it was a good... It was a really good gesture and, in my opinion, like a response to the crowd, because in the beginning of it, she says right to them, like, this is for you.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I like those little touches, too, on live albums. I know we talked banter a bit. There will be albums that most of the conversation will be about the banter.
Yeah.
Probably Blink-182 is
probably.
Well, just that's the low-hanging fruit, but there's others that are more serious debates. But yeah, so what I got to ask you this though, because I did see your notes and you said a second go just for the audience. You just mean the fact that she included it on the album, or you think she like played this twice at the same concert?
Oh, I don't think she played it twice at the same concert.
Just
I think
to
they
clarify,
were just two different takes.
Yeah.
Right.
You were just to really appreciate she included both on the same album.
Yeah.
I agree. I do.
I
like
think,
that
and
song.
maybe that was it. Maybe the first portion of it was recorded somewhere else, and it was all at the same time, and they included it on purpose there. And then this being a separate show, possibly, right?
Yeah,
Hypothesizing.
I was trying to break out of my gatekeepingness, but I assumed it was at two different shows. But when I saw your notes at first, I was like, she wouldn't possibly play the same song twice. But I'm like, I don't know. I mean, like, there's certain for a stretch of time, Seven Dust was I saw them like twice in 1 year, 3 times I think in 1 year, and just because they happened to be coming through at different concerts or music fests I was at. And they, at the time, I don't remember the EDM song because this was around 2012 or 2013. But
Okay.
the song was like, don't you worry, child. Like, it's an EDM song. And it's got like a sample in that. And Lejean was singing that at the beginning, or like when they'd finish a song, they'd kind of pile it into that every once in a while. Like he was going to do a full-blown cover of that song.
Yeah.
Like, or Seven Dust was going to. So that's a very, very brief little instance where a singer plays the same song a couple times in their show.
Right.
But there might not, maybe she, I don't know. Not being a diehard fan, the first recording of it on the album earlier in the full part of the album, that I thought was all one show, maybe that's only part of the song. And then she just circles back to it. I like that. That could be possible too. But you're right. I think it was just included in 2 different performances, in those instances. But it's not. I'm breaking out of my gatekeeper. Like, you can't do that shit. Old man yellows a cloud. Ever piss out of an airplane?
Jesus.
No, old man yells at a cloud.
Yes.
Like from the meme.
Get off my lawn.
Yeah. But yeah. Did you think anything else about this song, or you just really like it?
It was a great gesture to the audience, I thought.
What do you like about this song? Because I know you mentioned it last episode, but what do you like the most about this song?
What do I like the most about this song? I think I didn't re-listen to the whole album before we got here.
Sure.
But I think were both versions on piano?
Yes.
Okay. There's a different feel to this version, right? And there's a different, for lack of better terms, we'll say aura around it, and the way it's played. And I mean, you could easily look at it and go, "Oh, it's the same song twice."
Yeah,
I don't need to listen to both,
especially being on piano and
this one definitely seems more. Yeah, exactly. This one seems a lot more powerful.
Oh, really? On this last 6 tracks, you think this one was even? That'll be an after episode thing where I try to stack them up now, because I believe you. Maybe that's why she labeled it Take Two. Because hold up,
did she label it Take Two, or was it? Oh, she did. Okay.
Yeah, and that's why I was kind of asking you all you thought about this song, because I noticed you last episode liked it a lot, and it seemed uncharacteristic for you to like it. Even Christ, we're talking about Miley Cyrus, so it's uncharacteristic. This whole episode is fucking uncharacteristic of us. But don't
get me wrong, I'm a character.
That song specifically, I was like, yeah, this was not the one I thought you'd pick out to enjoy. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like, not that I think you're that you're closed minded or something, but I just never. It's just piano, just vocals. I don't know. But I did wonder that. I was like, why Take Two? Because it's you Take Two, and Take Two's in parentheses on the track listing on mine on Spotify. I was like, why Take Two? So I think that maybe she just labeled it that, and you might be right about, like, it was more powerful because maybe that's why it's included.
Yes.
Maybe she felt she did it better than the first time.
Was this one of the songs that wasn't included?
You mean in the original Through Party in the USA tracks?
No, I'm wondering if this was included because it was a song that hadn't been released on an album yet.
You're right. Yes, it was previously unreleased. That was this one. Yeah, maybe. You mean she released it twice to kind of trial out a few different ways she sang it, you mean?
No, I think they're both included for a reason, but I think part of that reason also is that this version was so much different and, in my opinion, more powerful that she did include it twice.
Yeah. I think you're on to something with that, really. And I just threw in my notes, she says, "You're so fucking cute." I know she's probably talking about like somebody's daughter or son that's wearing a Miley shirt and all Miley'd out. But I just want to say thank you, Miley. I appreciate it. I work real hard on my looks. Every time I listen to it, I'm flattered.
That's funny.
But I like those little personal touches too.
Little tidbits.
Especially and now to kind of compare to your notes with that. And you said you liked that she said this is for you. That to me at the end was like it was very personal. You know what I mean? It was like making somebody's day, pointing them out. I think musicians are going to get more and more involved with the crowd like that.
And maybe this was kind of more of a having edited it twice, maybe it was more directed to the listener instead of the show.
Yeah. Well, right. And I think I see what you're hearing and all of it now with that little tidbit at the end. Because I'm like, you're right. It was so personal. It was so, this one's for you. And then at the end, it's like, you're so fucking cute.
Yep.
She's so sweet. But yeah, that was a good jam. I did like that one. I like me some piano and vocalists and strong vocalists because I don't know how to sing. So I don't sing for shit or try or pretend to try. So I really appreciate vocal heavy songs, which is why I like the band Dorothy or the singer Dorothy with her band, if you will. And something like maybe when she covered that Janis Joplin song on this album, Miley covered it. I like those kind of songs. So I'm with you on that one.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So then, nothing breaks like a heart.
Yeah, that's probably my favorite song on this whole thing.
Oh, elaborate.
I don't know.
I can't wait to hear.
Well, we talked about it a little bit in the first episode that this song was the song that she played on Saturday Night Live.
Yes.
Right. And I was like, what the fuck is she doing now? Right. It was, I think it was during COVID times.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember I was already to paint the picture and or illustrate. I was up north at the farm. Grandpa's passed out in his recliner. I think Dad's passed out on the sofa, and I was passed out on the floor. It is carpeted, right?
Was this from tiredness?
Yeah, like it was late at night.
Oh, okay, yeah. I'm thinking like passed out just comes off real. Boy, that was a bender that night.
I was just gonna say no.
There's bottles everywhere.
No, definitely not. It just happened to be that everybody else was sleeping and like I had woken up and I think she played 2 songs. So there was the intermission and then I think she played at the end.
Sure.
But I don't remember which order it was. That may have been the first one or this. It had to have been the first one because it was enough for me to like stay up and watch the rest of the episode. I was like, all right, like what the fuck's going on?
Yeah. You think it was solidly during 2020 she sang that one on Saturday Night Live? Yeah. Or you mean like following the dark age? Like 2021 sucked ass too. So like that was a pretty suck ass year in my opinion.
You can look it up on your phone.
Okay. I'll do that. Just you go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. But this again was in my terms of what I knew was typically released by Miley, a different direction, and it at the time, right, because perception and all of that stuff play into it. Like at the time, all I could think Miley was doing was like partying in the USA stuff and things of that nature. To kind of go in this direction, it seemed a little bit more country to me.
Yeah, definitely.
Right? And that's where it like it flipped a switch for me because I was like, I would consider this country and I don't hate it.
Yeah. I don't want to trust YouTube too much.
Yeah.
The most recent one I found was her singing a song called 50 Ways to Leave Your Lover 5 years ago, which would peg it at 2019. Which is close enough to the Dark Ages, but that was drastically a different year than the Dark Ages.
Yeah, I don't think that was the one.
I know
you
you're right.
Search SNL Miley Nothing Breaks Like a Heart because she did play that song on it.
Yeah, that's what I'm like. She definitely sang during the years you're thinking of. I just couldn't remember if it was in the heat of COVID, but it's okay. It doesn't matter that much. It was definitely it was 2020 and after at some point, but I'd have to look it up because I would want to see her playing that song. And what kind of band she's got with, or like what they're playing with it. Because you said it, I know you said it's like country, which is also unusual for you to enjoy. I mean, you don't hate country, but
no,
you probably like that more than pop, I would say, or maybe generally listen to it more than pop.
Well, what's funny about this conversation is like through talking about all the covers and some of the other bands that we talked about earlier, we talked about, you had mentioned Bring Me the Horizon.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So like to make this conversation a little bit more all encompassing, I was going to ask if you had heard the new album.
By Bring Me the Horizon?
Yeah, by Bring Me the Horizon.
No, not yet.
It's good. I really enjoyed it. But my point to that is that you can stay in boxes, right?
Sure.
Miley is doing something where she's clearly trying to blur those lines, where she's not just one thing. And I mean, she said it throughout the show on this live album. You know, thanks for sticking with me through all, you know, whatever I've been, right?
Yeah.
And I think that translates into music too, because if you think of Bring Me the Horizon back when they started versus what this new album is now, I think there is, you know, like you had stated earlier, excuse me, between being in the, what did you call it? What the fuck was it?
What is this pertaining to?
Social media.
Oh, you mean when I was talking about like generations and what they've been through? I was talking like the pop culture, how quickly pop culture transformed during the baby boomer generation, like from they barely had a couple singers and bands.
They had been through the pop culture, and then we have been through the social media.
Yes, there you go. Yeah. The transformations. Exponential change, we'll say.
Right. And I think we're experiencing something much different with music that, granted, existed in the past, but was so much harder to attain given the instruments and availability of technology.
Sure.
Right. That I think we're starting to see a lot of those lines blur. For instance, one of the new songs that just came out from Bad Omens with Poppy called Van.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Right.
Yep. Mm-hmm. We talked about that in the last episode, too, I think.
I think so. Yeah. Or everything that you might call this new album by Bring Me the Horizon. There's such a vast landscape in terms of what's possible with the blurring of those lines, because it doesn't have to be strict, like punk rock doesn't have to strictly be 3-chord progressions on a chainsaw guitar and no solos.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
chainsaw guitar. That just brought me right back to Jackal at the Harley rally. And I think that's about how it sounded.
Yeah.
Just spitball in there.
I don't know anybody else that plays a chainsaw.
Yeah. I don't think anybody else ever did after that either.
I don't think so.
Anyhow, I hope not.
I used to love that song as a kid.
Oh yeah. Was it called Chainsaw Blues? I think.
Yeah, it's called Chainsaw Blues.
Chainsaw Blues.
Yeah, na 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 na. Yeah, na 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 na.
It's got the same fucking tone the whole time.
Yep.
And we all pretend it doesn't. That's the best part.
Yep.
I love it. So
that was out in the backwoods of anyways.
Your dad was a big Jackal fan. Right?
He was. It's his fault that I know of all of those songs.
So just before we dive back into this song, because I have a couple questions for you about this Nothing Breaks Like a Heart. But let's stick to Jackal for right now. Just a real quick sidebar.
I did not expect this.
My dad and I went to see them at the Harley rally. I know you know that, but to the listeners, we went to a Harley rally together. Jackal was there. Listened to them. Sure. My dad was kind of like, it was interesting, they're kind of entertaining, whatever. So I met up with my dad at the Harley Museum here in Milwaukee, and my wife and I met up with my dad, my mom. It's for dinner at the restaurant there. And when we were leaving, he was like, hey, out in the kind of open field by this museum in downtown Milwaukee, it's kind of a spacious area for it being the city. He was like, hey, this is where we were watching. What was that band with the chainsaw? And I was like, oh, Jackal. And without hesitation, he was like, that was fucking stupid. That's it. That's my story.
That's your story? Fantastic.
I thought for sure he was like, oh, yeah, that was
kind of cool.
Well, because when he left that night, which was 3 years ago now, he was like, oh, that was all right. It was kind of interesting, I guess. He's like, it's kind of gimmicky. This time he's like, yeah, it was fucking stupid. I was like,
it had worn off.
It had
worn off. That's what happened.
I'm like, yeah, definitely. Talk about gatekeeper. You won't find a better gatekeeper than my father. I learned from the best. But anyways, continue with your Couldn't go on with the chlorophyll.
Chlorophyll, talk about Boroville.
You said they're one of her best songs. You mean like overall of the stuff you've heard?
So. Yep.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
In my opinion. And maybe that's because of the impact it had on me when it did, because it's a great song. Yeah. And it was outside of the realm of something I would, like, if I had to pigeonhole myself as like, I only listen to this.
Oh, yeah, sure.
This is all I listen to.
This is it.
It would not make that assumption, right?
Oh, yeah, sure.
And so I thought it was really cool. And then when, again, this was the album that we were going to end the first season on. When it came out, I listened to it a few times before season 2. And then now obviously spun it a lot more, and it still has the same effect for me.
Right. Sure. So I have an interesting observation in my notes for this song, because I am with you. I like this one and I couldn't figure out why at first. And I listened to it a few times, even up to before you came over to the space here today. I listened to it a few times because I was like, I can't think of, I got as close to like something, popping up in my head as to why I liked it so much.
Yeah.
I got as close to it as, okay, it's because it sounds like a song I know. And I still couldn't think of it. But I was like, okay, at least we've whittled away the spoon, or like the wood spoon, whittled the thing out of a block of wood down to at least it looks like a spoon. So it can feed me things. So I was like, okay, I've figured out that's why, right? And all I can say before I reveal that to you is Lord of the Plains. That's me.
Yeah.
This song has a country vibe to it. And It took me a second to figure out what it reminded me of all that stuff. It's Dollar Bill Blues by Townes Van Zandt, which is the song playing during the opening credits of the movie Hell or High Water.
Shit.
Oh, yeah. Listen back to it.
Okay.
Listen to that song.
Great movie.
Or maybe we'll even listen to it on the ride down to, just so my wife knows, yes, we're going to get Mexican food after this.
La Station.
La Station. But we'll give that song a spin, because you might not remember that one from the movie. I know the movie was great. I liked it. You liked it. But
yes,
I love the soundtrack on that. It's a mixture of instrumentals, which I'm a huge fan of, and certain down, dusty, dirty country like stuff by Waylon Jennings and like whatever else, right? So this singer, Townes Van Zandt.
What makes those songs are the textures.
Oh my God, yeah. And I saw that a lot in this song. And while it's not maybe what I think of as being Miley's best ever let's just say on this live album for the sake of the live podcast.
Yes.
But it's definitely excellent. I liked it a lot. And it took me a lot to dig deep and figure out why I liked it. And I finally was like, because I could hear the rhythm. It's like a two-step.
Yep.
And I'm like, okay, I could cliche the shit out of this and say, oh, it's like Johnny Cash. And like any number of Johnny Cash's songs, like Cocaine Blues or anything that's got a two-step to it. You know what I mean?
Well, she's had a couple of songs that, even though they were original, had throwbacks and or callbacks to, I can't remember the name of the one on this album, but Johnny Cash.
Oh, yeah, 100%. And that simple two-step drum beat, the makes this so fucking badass, mixed with the twangy guitar, which I think you said in your notes, that the guitar lead on verse 2 is something you've written in the past. Was it because of the tone that you felt that way, or was it just because of how it, like literally how it's played?
Okay.
Because the tone for me is what roped me into this, like where I was like, oh, this is like country aside, like this is a badass song. It sounds like it belongs in that fucking soundtrack.
Yes.
That's how far I'd go with that. Like, she didn't just break down the barriers of, here's Miley singing a song that's similar to the era of country that is Johnny Cash or any Waylon Jennings or any. It's like, no, she fucking just wrote a song that belongs in that era.
Right. Exactly.
And that that right here, that impresses me. Got my Pat McAfee, like, ladies and gentlemen, AJ Hawk. He does that all the time.
Well, I think a part of that goes back to what we were saying in the last episode, that, going back to being timeless.
Yes. Yeah. She encompassed something timeless in this song, and I'm very impressed with it. And I guess I could give it a listen. The studio version is on one of her albums, obviously, but I was actually looking for it on what album it was on today. I think it's on that.
I couldn't find it.
The Wikipedia page I had up.
I couldn't find what album this is on.
Okay, let me see here.
I looked on Plastic Hearts.
Oh yeah, that's like the go-to for this. That was
for most of them. Yeah. I looked on Plastic Hearts. I looked on a few different albums. I could not locate it on the discography that YouTube Music had of hers. So I could not, other than being on this album, locate that song. Other than maybe the fact that it's probably on YouTube on the episode that she did SNL on.
Interesting. So it's a combination of her and Mark Ronson. Let me, like I said, I got this on mute, so we won't go super crazy. Who is, I believe, a DJ? He must be, because he's on Uptown Funk with Bruno Mars. He's on Valerie featuring Amy Winehouse. And I remember Bruno Mars did a
I
version
wonder
of that.
if he played guitar on that.
Yeah, he's on a song with Dua Lipa. I mean, he's a DJ. Or like an EDM artist.
Yeah.
What have you.
So she was on stage with one other person who had an acoustic, either an acoustic or a plugged-in guitar that sounded country.
Some of these, I will hand it. I love playing drums to instrumentals, but mainly EDM artists, and I guess techno for the millennials that are future impaired. It's EDM, but we used to call it techno, and I'm sure the children of the 80s also called it that. But whatever the case, I give credit to those guys, because a lot of times they aren't just sitting up there pushing buttons. I just said putting bushins. They are.
I was going to say,
just so everybody knows, that's what I said.
Yep.
They're not usually a button pusher or anything necessary. I mean, I get it. Like that, that's maybe their draw, but they actually a lot of times they're multi-instrumentalists. They sometimes know their shit. And so you might be right. I wonder if he's the one playing the twangy ass guitar, and part of the reason I like this song so much. Miley's vocals is 100% of it, but there's an extra 10 or 20% that it's because of how it sounds, and it sounds like that Townes Van Zandt song, rhythmically, tone-wise, like a more updated version of it, a less lo-fi version of it, I would say. I wonder if that's him playing the. You're right.
I'd be curious to know. And actually, when you go into some of that, I wonder. You've seen the meme where. For instance, the song Bohemian Rhapsody had a handful of writers, but something else by another artist
has like 20.
Tons. Yeah.
Oh, it was Beyonce. That was and it was Who Run the World, or Girls Run the World, or whatever the song was.
I don't remember what the song was.
It was very repetitive, like an EDM song, little vocal EDM.
I would question how much research and thought goes into some things, right? So and this is just my lizard brain working the way it does right now.
Lizard brain.
Lizolfos from The Legend of Zelda. Just thinking about it. So you've got certain BPMs, you've got certain chord progressions, and there's videos out there dedicated to some of the most popular chord progressions and some of your favorite songs. A lot of probably the top 10 over the past 20 years may have been the same chord progression.
Yeah, right.
I'm curious to know how much of, like, if at all any of that was done going into some of these songs to put them together, or if it was just a spark of influence, like this is the direction we're going, and like not compared to anything. Like, this is the song, this is the living art, and this is how it's gonna portray. Or is somebody in the background going, okay, we want it to sound country, which is this BPM, these chord progressions. Yeah, let's throw something together, throw it in the pot, and see what comes out.
That's quite possible. But yeah, so it's like a collab song that's pretty 50-50 in this case. So that's what I was able to dig up just right now. But you're right, it's definitely an original, but not necessarily an original Miley on its own, I guess, if you will.
Right.
So, but then moving on to the more, she kind of flops back into more of her, how she sounds.
Yes.
I guess after all the praise, I hate making it sound like, oh, stay in your box. But this Angels Like You song, for me, and I'll let you kind of spin on it right away, but Angels Like You is like what I expected from her.
Sure.
To just generalize it to start.
Yeah. Well, so in the beginning of that track, she actually talks to the audience, and she included it in the set list because she woke up the day of the show and it was number one on iTunes.
That's right. Yeah.
So she added it the day of recording.
And it wasn't previously unreleased, right? That was You was the previously unreleased song. This one is on something, but maybe
This was on, I think, the next album.
It must have
that
been
was released.
brand new.
Yeah.
Like it must have been released as a single at that point, because now they have it listed on Wikipedia as being on an album.
Yes, but it wasn't at the time. It
Yeah.
was only a single. It may have been Flowers. I can't remember.
true.
But so I noticed with the song and a lot of the other songs that it seems that love, torment, and heartbreak seem to be a huge part of her lyrics.
Who hurt you, Miley? Hey, girl. Hey, girl. Who hurt you?
And
R&B.
the thing that sticks out to me in the lyrics and I guess some of those, we'll say, subject matters is the lyric that I knew that you were wrong for me. Gonna wish we never met the day I leave. I thought that was a good.
That's a kick to the balls.
Yeah, I love shit like that.
That's like a threat. That's like the day I leave, you're gonna wish I hadn't been around because I'm gonna fucking burn your house down.
Yep. And
I think all men and women can relate to that nowadays.
Ironically enough, that's similar to some of the lyrical content that Bad Omens had.
Yeah, that's it. That is interesting.
Isn't that an interesting parallel?
Yeah. But like just like you were saying with other stuff, like there's a parallel. There's synchronicities in a lot of things.
Yeah.
Because I think that just goes back to that long rabbit hole we dug our way into, which was, I mean, there really isn't like a need to categorize everything. We do it because that's culturally what humans do.
Right.
But I think, especially in music and media, but I think that these little moments, like you or me or anybody else that's a fan of music, it like pokes at us and goes, see, doesn't have to be the same genre. Doesn't have to, like, everybody writes about heartbreak and it just comes out in a different way.
Yes.
Which is why art is lowercase and not capitalized. Capitalized being a product, lowercase being it is what it is. And you can't really commercialize art in the way that you think you are.
Yes.
Because everyone's pulling from life experience. That's like the general start. The base is like you write a song about something you know. And then it's like how it comes out of you is how you feel and what feels natural. So if like and if it were tactile art, for example, it's like maybe Miley's a painter, whereas Bad Omens is a sculptor. You know what I mean? Like
yes.
That's
correct.
Something that invades your space more, like heavy metal or hard rock is a sculpture, a 3D thing you can physically experience. Whereas Miley, if it's a pop song, because this is definitely one of the pop ones out of the 6, it's kind of like a like maybe she did a painting because it's a little bit more of you. It's approachable. You know what I mean? That sort of thing.
Right.
So yeah, that is interesting. I didn't notice that myself, but that's a good observation there. But for me, let me see.
Go on.
Yeah, I did note that it's saying it was number 1 on iTunes. I had asked just out of random, is iTunes still a thing? Because on my iPhone, it's Apple Music. So that made me sit there and seriously wonder. So I'm getting all like, I've been re-binging after all these years, the TV show Bones.
Yes.
With Emily Deschanel and I can't remember who plays Celie Booth, but
Angel.
Yeah. So I was like getting all Bones and Booth on this shit where I was like, if she's calling it iTunes, there's no way in hell this was played at Super Bowl 2022. However, it's not an old song because it's on one of her newer albums.
Right.
So I'm assuming, in conclusion, I just want to get this accurate statement on the record for the jury, the gatekeeper jury. I think she just fucked up saying iTunes instead of Apple Music or whatever streaming. Figure.
Maybe.
But I'm like, I didn't think iTunes still was actually a branded thing with Apple anymore. Because I'm fairly certain, at least at 2024 at this time of the recording, it's Apple Music. I'm fairly certain.
I really don't know.
So really not that fucking matters at all whatsoever. But I was like, are you fucking lying to me, Miley? I'm like, is it fucking, I'm like getting all gatekeeper again. I'm getting pulled right back in. I'm like, this isn't a straight through live album. She pulled this from like fucking 1994 or something like that.
Right.
And just suddenly released the song. And then I got back to reality and was like,
you gonna go to that urinal at the end and tell that guy you're vegan?
I know you're not the biggest football fan, but my favorite version of that meme with all the urinals and the like character walking in was there's 2 guys separate like by one urinal, nobody else at all, like 20 of these urinals. And then the next frame is the guy walking in, but there's a Photoshop picture of Tony Romo's face on it. And then he ends up in between them. He's like, how we doing today, boys? Because he's such a weird announcer that everybody makes fun of a lot for like his catchphrases and like his like there's a Nike poster someone made, like one of those black and white motivational with and he's on it all like with his cheeky smile, and the quote is, yeah, I don't know, Jim. Because like he does that all the time. And so it was like he was announcing the playoff game this past in fall of 2020 or spring of, it would have been early this year, of the Bills versus the Chiefs. And it's like on the backs of the two guys, this is Mahomes and Josh Allen or whatever, the two quarterbacks. Yeah. And he's walking in with the Tony Romo smash. How are we doing today, boys?
Jeez.
It was fucking priceless. I gotta find that one. But at any rate, let me pull that shit back together. Not that, like just on a limb here, it just still being an investigator, like I am not qualified to be. Not that she couldn't have recorded a song, 5 years ago live like this, and then ultimately didn't release it until now on an album or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's not like it's impossible that she did that. Bands do that all the time.
Maybe she time travels like Hitler.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe she's proving to us that the movie Interstellar, aliens do exist, but they're us in the future. And maybe that's why she's so weird. I don't know. This is Miley of the future. Maybe in our minds, we're still thinking Hannah Montana. But needless to say, going back to the context of this song,
original body's dead, like Paul McCartney.
Yeah. I think that this is more of her mellow pop jams. Like, it was like The Climb for me.
Yep.
But it felt more uplifting. Then I know The Climb isn't exactly not uplifting, but it did feel more uplifting to me because I felt like it's kind of like not depressing. The title makes me feel like it's going to be Mariah Carey, One Sweet Day, Sarah McLachlan, I Will Remember You, like Angels Like You. The first thing it reminded me of was, is this about somebody that died? You know what I mean? Like that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I low key am fearful of songs like that because I don't like feeling those emotions.
Oh.
I really am. I hate songs that make me sad that in a way that actually make me really sad.
Yeah.
I'm okay with ones that hit me when I'm pissed or emotional, but I don't want ones that are like Sarah McLachlan and the Sad Dogs Locked in Cages. Like I can't, I just avoid those. I really do. And I can't I just can't with that shit. Like everybody's got their thing. That's my
you're
thing.
Right. You know, there's I'm kind of right there with you. I've got a duality with sad songs. There's certain sad songs that I really enjoy, right? That I think are really great. And to the point that there's one I'm thinking of specifically that I've listened to because we went to go and see them recently.
Oh, While She Sleeps? Of Mice and Men?
Yes. No, specifically, I'm speaking of To the Flowers, right?
Oh, yeah.
And the idea behind the whole song is like one day, you'll like, we're not here.
Oh,
right?
yeah, absolutely.
And it sounds like the perspective of the song from where it's written is that sometimes we're not here, but also in terms of things going awry and or things not going the way we plan, if you listen to the lyrics of that song, sometimes you get left behind.
Yeah. And I think that's why I don't like those kind of songs, because I know this is really getting morbid.
A little bit.
This took a morbid turn, but
it's my fault.
I've made peace with my own death. I don't make peace with losing people in my life while I'm still here. And that might tie into like, my own personal beliefs and all that stuff. But like, I think there's still somewhere, you know what I mean? But it's like, it's sad because I don't know that for sure. You know what I mean? Like, so I can only hope that, when you lose somebody, they're waiting for you on the other side. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But that's called faith. You know what I mean? But I think that's why those songs bug me, is because you're right. That's a good example of that one. It's like, they're gone. You know what I mean? Or it's like you're left behind with the emotions and stuff, and that's what makes us sad in this world. And I just don't want to relive that in my entertainment, I think, a lot of times.
Well, yeah. And some of it, like, so to spin it in your direction, there's one song or maybe even a band particularly that kind of makes me feel that same way, that we've seen them live also. I don't think you're going to remember this one.
That we've seen live.
Yeah.
The Who.
It actually, it's funny that you say that. It was at the same show. It was at that
Oh,
show.
then it's Ice Nine Kills?
No.
Is it Steel Panther?
We didn't get to see Steel Panther.
We were walking around. Was it Mastodon?
No.
They were like, these aren't ones we watched, just they were on
I think he's gonna get it.
Bad Flower, Bad Finger.
Fuck yeah,
yeah.
It was Bad Flower,
Bad
man.
Flower.
Yeah, some of
their vocals were turned off that day.
they were, unfortunately. They took it though. They fucking brought it though.
Yeah, they did. I like that. Well, I like instrumentals, so they still were good to me that day, even without their vocals.
But some of their songs, like there's like you want to talk about like feeling some shit that you don't want to feel.
Yeah.
Like they've got 2 songs that really kind of put you in a place if you know.
Yeah. The one that really stabs me in the fucking heart is oh man, Parallel by Dayseeker. That one rips my fucking heart out.
Don't know that I know that one.
And actually, I can listen to that one pretty regularly because I like their sound and whatever. And there's not like music videos that attach to it that make me even sadder. But it's a slow one, but it's about him losing his dad to cancer.
Oh shit.
So it's pretty literal. It's like the lyrics are something like, I can't remember the lyric before this one, but it's like, where you are now, God only knows, you know, that sort of thing. Like, and stuff like, I guess heaven really needed you and blah, 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 like that shit. It's really sappy. And it sucks to listen to, but it's not a bad one, but I don't generally like it because of that.
Well, since we've gone down this rabbit hole so far,
this is a sappy song in a way. So, I mean, that's fine.
That's not the only one song that's been written that I know that's been written from that perspective.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Right. There's at least one other one that I know. The God That Failed.
Oh yeah. I think I know. I've heard the song.
Yeah. And from what I remember in terms of like interviews in the past and things of that nature, if I remember correctly, James's mother was very religious.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think she died of cancer. And so like that was the whole lyrical content behind The God That Failed. Yeah,
that's right. All right, let's bring it back up because I want to kill myself. The last song I know you and I both like.
Yes.
So
Fly on the Wall.
Yeah, let's keep
going. You like crying your eye out right there is going to be the thumbnail for the video when I post it. No.
Just my legs in the background.
The fuck?
Think about it.
No, I know. So I really enjoyed this song for many reasons. Fly on the Wall. I would say this is punk pop adjacent because I wasn't certain whether or not this was a cover.
Oh yeah,
right.
It is not. I'll confirm that with you. I did the digging.
Nice, thank you. But also, it's got huge B-52 vibes. Rock Lobster.
I love this.
Yes.
I love that we put similar things. Not exactly, but like the same mindset is here. Yeah, go ahead.
And the entire song, all I hear, like, I know it's not the same song. And this is kind of what drove me down the rabbit hole of, excuse me, down the rabbit hole of multiple writers and the potential for people to be on songs that may or may not be listed and things of that nature, right?
Yeah.
So like when, for instance, when Ice Nine Kills wrote Hip to Be Scared.
Yes, yeah.
They put, if you look at the credits, Huey Lewis is on the credits.
Oh, sure, yeah, because of the breakdown?
Because of the break, yeah. And I don't know if that was to avoid legal, this, that, and what have you.
Probably part of it.
Or maybe just influence.
Yeah.
So on the way here, I was actually thinking about it because I was still listening to those songs. And I thought, like, I'd wondered, like, with the connections that Miley has and how, I'm just going to say obscure she kind of is. Like, like she's been in pop country. Like, she's done a lot of shit.
Mm-hmm.
I can't imagine what kind of connections and or friends she has.
Yeah.
That, I wouldn't consider it to be outside of the realm of her knowing somebody on, like, from the B-52s who, like, just helped write it.
Oh, sure. Yeah, yeah. Like,
I'm not saying that's what happened.
Collaborated with her on it.
Yeah.
In that way. Okay, yeah.
But all I hear is Rock Lobster when I listen to
I
this.
love that. All I hear at the very like the fucking snare hit and it starts is woohoo.
Yeah. By Blur.
Yeah, it's song 2 or whatever.
Yep,
by
song
Blur.
2
Yeah.
by Blur.
So I love that you had your mind in that same spot because I definitely not a cover. I had to Google it. I took the liberty to try to make sure because I'm like I saw your note in there and I was like from last time you had all those notes in there and I was like, oh, I'm like I could see how it could be a cover, but I really don't think it is. I
don't know that it is.
I
or
think
isn't,
it's
but
like Hip to Be Scared and like what you're saying because it's like there's something there, but it's not fully, that sort of thing. And I think I felt that same way about her kind of. I think it's because earlier on the album she does that mashup of Edge of 17, but it's Edge of Midnight.
Yep,
It's
Edge
her
of
own
Midnight.
song. That's more like Hip to Be Scared, definitely.
Yes.
But I love this song. Holy shit, punk straight up for me. I think she skipped straight over pop punk and went balls deep into punk and grunge with this one.
Yeah.
But I don't listen to her studio recordings exclusively, as I kind of noted. I had to actually research whether some of these songs are actual songs of hers, covers or what have you. Like I said, so yeah, this one not a cover, but definitely inspired by something.
Yes.
And you're right. I can now hearing you tell me about the B-52s reference, the chorus. Oh hell yeah, the and I fly on the wall.
Yeah, exactly.
That's fucking I see it 100% on that. But I can't believe how hard she went with this song.
Oh yeah,
I was like
fucking slammed it.
Because we're right at the tail end here. I love that this is what this whole album ended on.
I was just gonna say that. Like thinking back to it now, like that this was the ending for the live album is amazing.
Oh my God. It was just like, what the fuck is this? Like it just took off. And I was like, holy shit, she's going full punk now. I'm like, I mean, really, she covered everything. This was an incredible live album because of that.
Right.
That alone. Like,
and did she meet the energy because she was opening up for Green Day or like what? Right.
Yeah. So you're right. This one probably really, really was part of the same concert that had at the end her going, Green Day's not going to leave in a pair of my thongs or whatever.
A pair of underwear.
A pair of underwear. Yeah. I think you might be right. And I bet you she did it. Maybe not open. Maybe she didn't open with this, but I bet she was mixed in there in that concert because to meet Green Day's energy. You're right. I mean, she's opening for them, like in that way, but I don't know if she would kick this off as a starting point. I think that it did kick off with We Can't Stop and all that shit, but this was definitely probably sprinkled in the concert with Green Day for sure. Cause Jesus Christ, same with What the Fuck Do I Know?
Yes, I agree.
But that's just me. So overall on this encore, these 6 songs, I mean, for this one, I can't change anything about it because I'm like, I actually knew none of these songs by her. None of them whatsoever, like that she wrote them. That's kind of why I wrote down. I had to research if they're covers or originals or whatever. Cause I'm like, I don't exclusively listen to her. So like these 6, especially, I was like, this is totally foreign to me. Like I, don't know. Would I reorganize them at all? Instead of changing them, would I switch them around?
I wouldn't.
No, absolutely not. I don't like this flowed really well for just a 6-song edition or encore, if you will, for me. But that's just me. That was from last week, I think.
I think I kept it there. Did we talk about the album art?
Yeah, we did. With her butt cheeks.
Yeah.
Butt cheeks. Yeah.
So overall, like 1 through 10.
Oh, 1 out of 10 or
1 through 10.
Those
like, what would you?
Oh, on these last 6 songs?
On these last 6 songs.
Ooh, talk about putting a category to something. 1 to 10. I would say at least an 8.
Yeah,
100%. Because I mean, like I said, the two bleed room points, I guess, if you will, there that I'm leaving off are because I'm not going to exclusively listen to Miley Cyrus regularly now just because of this album. I'm going to continue to listen to this album.
Yeah.
But that doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to spin her whole catalog like I would maybe bands that I gravitate to more. But that's a high score for me.
Yeah.
for something I genuinely don't listen to regularly. But what about you?
I'd say 10 out of 10.
Woo!
Yeah, 10 out of 10. Like I really enjoyed not just like the last 6, but the whole album.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I think if I was going to lump the whole album, I'd give it a 9 then out of 10. Like if just the last 6, 8, but 9 because it was encompassing a Vegas show. It covered so much shit that in terms of genres, I can't fathom. I'm like, I would definitely sit through this whole concert and leave happy. Like, if I stumbled upon a Miley Cyrus concert, it would be 100%. I'd be like, yeah, that's something I'm all about. That's something I'm part of for sure.
Absolutely.
But well, Miley, you did us well, and you did us so well that we had to just we did a re-return to do those last 6 encore songs. So thank you for this work of art, and thank you for, not that she's listening, but thank you for who does listen to us here on Fuck It, We'll Do It Live.